Have y'all seen Ezra Klein and the Ta-Nehisi Coates interview? I don't know for whom this is like a big sensation, but it has reactions to that interview have been on my YouTube for probably, I don't know how long ago the interview came out, but like maybe 2 weeks. As long as the interview's been out, I've had different takes on that interview. All of them very critical of Ezra Klein. I would say watch the interview before you watch anybody's reaction to it. As a matter of fact, I think I will be defending Ezra Klein in this, not because I really agree with what he said, but because I'm watching one of these reactions. She showcased a tweet. Basically, somebody was like, Ezra Klein has been having an emotional meltdown on his show and calling it political commentary for like years now. I'm like, yeah, y'all didn't know? Like, I mean, but that's the thing. So let me give you some background why I feel qualified to talk on this. I think a lot of people just tuned into that episode and were like, Ezra Klein is fucking stupid neoliberal. I've been watching, so my mom sent me Ezra Klein's book, Abundance, and I had to listen to it because it was my mom, and I did, and then I got Ezra Klein in my YouTube feed, and so I've been watching the Ezra Klein show since I read his book. I think it's pretty good. Here's the thing. This is why I've been perfectly fine with any of his like older liberal takes. It's because my mom sent me his book. And for all this, I've seen a lot of hate. The reason I'm making this video is because I've seen a lot of Ezra Klein hate. Like, hate for shit that isn't even this interview. Like, I've seen people call his book bland, neoliberal garbage. His book is an argument for socialism. His book is an argument for maybe what we'd call lesser socialism, which is where we are now. It's definitely an argument for at least much closer to New Deal socialism, the Bernie Sanders style socialism, than it is to the Kamala Harris style socialism of tax credits and no social services. So it's just, for me, it's like I know he's not a fucking neoliberal. I know that he's having this discussion in good faith. He's just trying to explain his feelings on this interview with this guy who is his friend. And they're having a respectful conversation where they disagree and they're trying to understand each other's feelings. And I think a lot of people came in and watched it and just were like, Ezra Klein's a bigot. Ezra Klein is so stupid. So the first thing is that Ezra Klein said something like, I view history in 12-year blocks. Talking to Ta-Nehisi Coates, who was explaining that he views his position in history at the end of a long lineage of civil rights fighters, people fighting for black civil rights. And Ezra Klein sees 12-year blocks of history. That was the framework that they went with. I saw a guy who was like, white people need to shut up. You know? He was like, white people need to stop talking. I was like kind of appalled by that. He's like, how could you see history in 12-year chunks? I know, like, you don't know anything about, like, black people. I'm like, really? That's what you got from that? Well, yeah, Ezra Klein is not black. He does not see himself at the end of a long lineage of civil rights fighters. He doesn't fight for civil rights. He's not a social justice warrior. I mean, it's just not who he is. So the fact that he's being honest about that and trying to explain his position as thinking about this current moment as a product of the last 8 to 12 years, first of all, it tracks. This current moment referenced against the last 8 to 12 years makes a lot more sense than this current moment referenced against the last, say, 200 years. But if you're charting political violence and you're a black person, it sure makes sense to think of yourself that way. So they both had perfectly understandable positions on how they think about this moment in time. It wasn't Ezra Klein saying that he was... I mean, I don't want to put words in his fucking mouth, But this is the one time where I do feel like I can just say he was not minimizing like slavery or anything with that comment. He was saying that, like, I mean, in reference to like his personal career and life, relating the last 8 to 12 years to this current moment makes a lot of sense for him. The reason that this is important is because this is what I know about Ezra Klein, is if he is saying something, then it's probably how my mom feels about politics. Or it's probably how somebody's dad feels, or somebody's aunt or uncle. Like, this is just how, like, older millennials think. And you can't just cut them out of the conversation. Because here's the thing, before we go any further, Ezra Klein would vote for Kamala Harris the same as you and me, if we had to. I mean, we don't have allies. The left wing does not have allies at all. And so, the fact that we have this guy, and he and I would vote for the same fucking president, the same as everybody else who's sensible, would vote for Kamala Harris, even though we don't want to. I'm not saying we want to. I'm just saying, literally in this system, we have two options, and which means we only have one option for voting. He is an ally as much as a leftist can have an ally in this time, in this place. I mean, come on. Why are y'all attacking him? There are way, way better things to do with your time than attack Ezra Klein. I'm sorry. There are way better things to do than try to hit licks, get clout, react to his content. I'm watching You Don't Have to Swallow Frogs on a channel called Degenerate Art by Andrea Pitzer. She has the most level-headed take that I've seen on this interview since I watched the actual interview. So it's like, why are we being mean to each other? Nobody's happy with this, and anybody would be happy with somebody else. I mean, come on, like, there are way more important things to do than fight each other. I understand that there's real and important ideological differences, but ideology means absolutely nothing until we can get to a place where there's actually more than one candidate to vote for. We have so much fucking work to do. And it's like, should Ezra Klein have suggested that some Democrats give up their positions on trans rights issues? So that's the next thing. Ezra Klein suggested some Democrats should give up their positions on trans issues. I don't want to put words into his mouth. I am going to. I want to share my interpretation of what he said. First of all, he had interviewed the first trans congressperson a couple months ago. So for anybody who's reacting to that, who didn't watch that interview, I'm sorry, you don't know what he's talking about. Not trying to bust out my Ezra Klein fan card here, but I am going to bust out my Ezra Klein fan card. I know why, like, this would track for some people. I know why this tracks for him. They said, this first Democratic congressperson, it was okay to make compromises. It was okay to take baby steps. It was okay to back off a little bit on issues. I think there are a lot of issues right now that should be settled on a state-by-state basis. I do believe that republicanism is one of the ways that we fight corruption, and I believe that forgetting about republicanism and misusing republicanism, the Republicans are the ones who misuse it, is one of the things that has called for the decline of our nation. I see Richard Nixon republicanizing the police forces. He militarized them with federal funding. The funding went to the state level. As long as the states militarized their police departments, they were able to get funding. So when I say he republicanized them, what I'm saying is he allowed them to continue functioning on the state level while militarizing them. He republicanized the postal service. You get this misunderstanding of what republicanism is for. Jumping in from the future here, this video is not about what republicanism is for, but I don't think I explained it properly. Republicanism is for making sure that the level of power our politicians have is equivalent to the amount that we trust them. It is as simple as that. It's not for delineating money across, like, it's not, like, for example, the Postal Service, more powerful when it receives federal funding and operates at a federal level.
And the Postal Service is a trustworthy government service, so it's understandable that it could be run from the federal level without the concern of corruption. So when I say that Richard Nixon Republicanized the Postal Service, I'm saying that he took it from federalized authority to state authority for no good reason, other than because he was a Republican and Republicans are for state rights.
Anyways, I'm off track. I think I might cut a lot of that. What Ezra Klein is saying is that the trans rights issue should be a Republican thing. We can have, I mean, look at this. Under Donald Trump, trans people are going to be deported, tortured, all this terrible shit that has already started. They've gotten their passports revoked. They can't leave the fucking country. Okay? What Ezra Klein is suggesting is that we have safe states for trans people and unsafe states for trans people, as opposed to an unsafe country for trans people. It is not ideal that we would have unsafe places for trans people. And Ezra Klein did not say that it would be ideal to have unsafe spaces. It is incredibly depressing, yet at the same time, look at the fucking president. Do you honestly think that trans people can be safe anywhere in this fucking country? No, we need to get trans people to be safe anywhere in this fucking country. It's not fucking rocket science. We need people who care to protect the people that they care about. And people are like, I can't believe Ezra Klein is giving up on trans people. I know. I mean, it is kind of disappointing to hear him say that. But, I mean, again, look around. Look at what we have now and look at how to get where we want. Do you honestly think that we can have 100% of the only party that we are allowed to vote for if we don't want Trump? So 100% of the only party has to be 100% federal protections for trans people. And where does that stop? Are we talking about trans people in sports, in bathrooms, in everything? That's something I support. I want to be very clear. I support trans people are just regular people to me, but they're not to other people. And we have it's called democracy. Demo meaning the people rule. Okay, so that means that if there's people who disagree with you, we need to accept their interests and try our best to accommodate everybody's interests using a system of representation. So, for example, if in your state somebody's trying to run for a congressperson and they want to get, let's say, electoral reform, economic reform, prison reform, and action on climate change through. However, everybody in that state hates trans people for some reason. For some reason, I don't understand the reason, neither do you. Should they run in vocal support of trans people and lose the election to Donald Trump? Or should they drop their support of trans people in exchange for electoral reform, economic reform, prison reform, and action on climate change? Those four things will help trans people. They will help trans people. I don't know what to say. I am coming from, for sure, is like material conditions affect your personal beliefs, even on like bigotry.
Material conditions are the number one effect on anybody's political beliefs of any topic at all. And we have been in a long-term recession since 1963 when John F. Kennedy was assassinated by the CIA.
Obviously. I mean, I think if more people are sad and angry, then there are going to be more anti-trans. Obviously. And I think if there are more people who are in poverty, in prison, worried about climate change, and worried about going to war, then there's going to be more people who are racist, obviously. And I think there is this profound interest in making people racist or transphobic, which is where the Republican Party gets its strength. The Republican Party gets its strength on these issues that Democrats are weak on. Democrats are weak on the issue of trans rights, and Democrats are weak on the issue of abortion rights. That's true. We never got protections for abortions until it went to the courts. It was not an act of Congress that protected abortions. Okay, Democrats have never won on the issue of abortion, and Democrats only ever briefly won on the issue of trans rights. And from a political perspective, trying to win elections and benefit people with your power, it's simple. I mean, you want to run on the issues that are going to help you win. And then, yeah, if it comes up, something you're willing to vote on, trans rights comes up, an act of Congress on trans rights, if you don't vote for it, I want to vote you out, because that's how democracy works. You know, but I don't need you to run on the with trans rights or abortion rights at the center. The criticisms I've been seeing of this interview, they're coming from the left of Ezra Klein. Remember, these things are subjective. It seems to be... So I think the three things people are mad about him for, that I've seen, is him suggesting that Democrats should not try to get elected on the issue of abortion or trans rights, and his assertion that he sees history in like 12 to 8 year chunks. And people on the left of him are not liking those things. Where Ta-Nehisi Coates is explaining like his whole, like the reason that he fights is like because he has inherited this struggle through a long lineage of enslaved people. And Ezra Klein, as a privileged white guy, and me, as a privileged white guy, we have to say, like, we didn't inherit this. Like, we chose this. We chose to care. Like, and that happened more recently. We were not born into this. I mean, my parents were definitely liberal, but
kind of starting to sound like, oh, woe is me, I'm a white guy, I don't want to be like that. I've just seen a lot of white men step away in this time. A lot of white men stepping away and allowing this horrible shit to fucking happen. And I, not trying to pat myself on the back or anything, but being somebody who is not going to be affected by this like white ethno state that they're trying to create, and choosing to care anyways, it's a big step for any one of these cis white men to take.
Is it fair for me to be upset when I see things online that say like white people need to shut up from leftists? I mean, no. Because the way that I was raised, you don't tell people to shut up. You just explain your issues with them respectfully. That's the way that I was raised. And that's I mean, I came into this fight trying to embody that. And I don't know, I'm kind of tired of worrying about people's feelings. You know, and I feel like the people telling white people to shut up, they're also tired about people's feelings. It's like, I just feel like society's breaking down. And it's like, why are we at the throats of people who chose to stand their ground with us? And then you're like, Ezra Klein's not standing his ground. He wants trans people he wants to give up on trans people. And it's like, I don't think that's what he said. I really don't think that's what he said. I don't think he said he wanted to give up on it. I think he said he wanted to win more elections. And there are some states where you cannot win elections on the trans issue. There are some states where you cannot win elections on the abortion issue. I am so sorry to break it to you, but there are some states where you can't win those elections. And we need to win those elections. It's like, how are we leaving trans people behind? They're not safe anymore. This world is not safe anymore. And we're not leaving them behind by suggesting that what we should do is get the fucking president out of the office so that we can make safe states for trans people. I mean, I think anyone listening, any trans person who is in an unsafe situation where they just cannot start a life, if they were able to just move to a state where they could be safe and get the treatment that they needed, they would. And I know it's not good to want that for our society. I don't want that for our society. But it's like, what Ezra Klein is saying is like, are we ever going to win elections in the South? Are we ever going to win elections in these deeply conservative areas? We need people to accept first of all, we need people to accept a progressive platform on policy, which is hard to do in this country. And why are we, fuck. I just feel like so many people are trying to pitch this as like Ezra Klein has betrayed us. And I don't think he said anything that was a betrayal. I mean, I'm from the South. And I've talked to people about politics around here. If you're not from around here, then you have a different perspective. No shade, but you do. And the trans issue is honestly it's a fabricated issue by Fox News. And the thing is, like those fabricated Fox News issues, it has a lot of traction. It is a very, very strong issue for Republicans and a very, very weak issue for Democrats. Period. That is the world that we live in right now. And there is, what are you going to do? Put on CNN that trans people are all right and then broadcast that?
My question here is, how can we make Democrats win on the issue of trans rights? I guess, really, there are two perspectives here. The first is the one that Ezra Klein put forward that I've been defending, even if I don't fully agree with it, which is give up on trans rights, focus on issues that are just going to benefit people, improve material conditions, and hope we can come back to the issue later when people are less bigoted. And the second is one that I don't know. I've never heard somebody saying, this is how we pitch trans issues to people who are transphobic. And look at me. I'm not going to be the ambassador of how to do that. As a cis white man, I see no option for winning elections on trans rights issues in areas that are largely transphobic. How can we get people to not be transphobic other than improving material conditions? That is what this is about.
The other issue is abortion that Ezra Klein brought up. Ta-Nehisi Coates in the interview, he was like, well, the polls say this and that. I don't really care what the polls say. I've talked to people about abortion, and it runs deeper than something Fox News is telling them. If you look up the history of abortion, it was kind of a non-issue, and then Richard Nixon and then Ronald Reagan, like in that period, their Republican Party basically got complete control over the churches and united them against abortion, and now it's something that you learn at church is wrong.
Abortion, while it used to be a political issue, it is now a religious tenet. People have been taught that since the late 1960s. From very early, they believe it as much as they believe in God. What I'm saying is that people who are anti-abortion today, they believe it as firmly as they believe in God. And you are not getting them to budge. No matter what you say to them about statistics or anything, they believe it the same way that they believe in God. And pretty soon, if we don't improve material conditions and start changing the political landscape, the same thing is going to happen with the issue of trans rights.
And I mean, I want to be very clear. It is no longer an issue of politics. It is an issue of godliness. And if you are seen not as yourself ungodly, but if you are seen as somebody who will lead the country into an ungodly place, then you are not going to win with Christians. Like, if you have a stance that they believe is ungodly, then they're not going to vote for you. And they vote as a bloc. And I'm sorry, I mean, but the truth is that abortion is a very, very complex issue. And people who think it's simple are not looking hard enough at what is going to take to win. Fucking A. Do I look crazy? God damn it. What am I going to get out of this? I think I made my point. I'm not asking for any smoke in the comment sections. I'm having my own emotional breakdown, and I'm not passing it off as political analysis. I'm just having an emotional breakdown about politics. Please comment something that will make me feel sane. Please comment something that'll make me feel heard. Please comment something that'll make me feel like it's okay. Because that's what I need. I don't need hate in my comments. Not like I get any comments anyways. There's going to be no comments on this video. Alright. Love you guys. Bye.